7 years ago, in the dry heat of Fresno, California, a collector named Randy stepped into a small, dusty junk shop tucked away on the edge of town. The place was cluttered and dimly lit, the kind of store where most people would see only piles of forgotten junk. But Randy had an eye for the overlooked. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. He wandered through the aisles, skimming past old postcards, cracked dishes, and vintage magazines, until something unusual caught his eye. An old weathered tintype photograph, half buried under a stack of papers. It was selling for just $2. To anyone else, the photo might have seemed like nothing special. It was a black and white image, its surface dulled with time. In it, a group of men and women posed casually in front of a wooden building, surrounded by scattered croquet mallets and balls. A few men on horseback lingered in the background. But something about it stopped Randy in his tracks. There was something oddly familiar about one of the faces. It gnawed at him, the way a name sits just out of reach at the tip of your tongue. When Randy brought the photo home and enlarged it, the feeling intensified. The young man at the center of the image, dressed in a top hat and slightly hunched over a croquet mallet, bore an uncanny resemblance to a figure Randy knew well. Billy the Kid. Could it really be him? The face, the eyes, the casual posture, it all seemed to match the one surviving image of the infamous outlaw. But if it was truly him, that would mean Randy had just purchased an undocumented photo of Billy the Kid for the price of a cup of coffee. Curious and hopeful, Randy reached out to Kagan's, a respected company specializing in Western Americana and rare historical artifacts. Jeff Giugiaro, one of the lead experts, took charge of the investigation. What began as a simple inquiry quickly turned into an intense, year-long project. Every inch of the photograph was scrutinized, not just the faces, but the architecture, the shadows, the clothing styles, the background landscape. Kagan's team even researched the history of croquet in the American West, hoping to uncover the story behind this bizarre snapshot of leisure in such a violent time. Their research led them to a fascinating conclusion. The photograph had likely been taken at a ranch in New Mexico belonging to John Tunstall, a wealthy and ambitious English cattleman. In the late 1870s, Tunstall had hired a group of young men to defend his land and livestock during a bitter rivalry with a powerful faction led by Lawrence Murphy and Frank Dolan. That group would later become known as the Regulators, and among them was Billy the Kid. The photo began to make more and more sense. Tunstall, being from England, likely brought the game of croquet with him across the Atlantic. The mallets and balls scattered in the image, once strange, now pointed to a quiet day on the ranch, perhaps a rare afternoon when the young Regulators weren't riding or fighting. And there, in the middle of it all, possibly stands Billy himself, relaxed, youthful, and unaware of the legacy he was about to create. Billy the Kid, born Henry McCarty in 1859 to Irish immigrants in New York City, didn't begin life destined for infamy. After a rough childhood and the early death of his parents, he moved west in search of stability, but instead found violence. By age 16, he had killed a man in Arizona during a bar fight. Over time, he drifted from job to job, working on ranches and occasionally getting caught up in local conflicts. But it was in Lincoln County, New Mexico, that he found both purpose and brotherhood, joining the Regulators and becoming a key player in the Lincoln County War. Legend has long held that Billy killed 21 men, one for each year of his life, but most historians believe the real number is closer to 7. Even so, he gained a reputation for being quick on the draw, fearless, and loyal to his friends. His charisma made him a folk hero among some and a wanted criminal to others. In 1881, he was famously killed by Sheriff Pat Garrett. Or so history tells us. Whispers persist that he may have escaped and lived under a false identity, fading into legend rather than dying by the gun.
In the photo, Giugiaro and his team also identified several other faces. The man to the left, standing confidently with a relaxed posture, is believed to be Tom O'Folliard, Billy's closest friend and fellow Regulator. The couple on horseback, smiling and youthful, may be Charlie Beaudry and his new wife, Manuela. Charlie, like Billy, was deeply loyal and rode with the regulators until his death in a shootout. To the far right stands a young woman believed to be Sally Chisholm, niece of cattle baron John Chisholm, another key figure in the complex web of alliances and rivalries that made up the Lincoln County War. Some accounts suggest Billy had a romantic interest in Sally, adding yet another layer of intrigue to the photograph. This image, lost for over a century and purchased for mere dollars, may now be the only other confirmed photograph of Billy the Kid in existence. Until now, just one authentic photo of him was known, the one where he stands stiffly with a rifle and a blank stare, an image that sold for over $2 million. But this newly discovered picture shows another side of Billy. Not the outlaw, not the killer, but the friend, the young man, the human being. This discovery is more than a historical curiosity. It offers a rare, almost intimate look at a group of young people whose lives were shaped by violence, loyalty, and survival. It captures a fleeting moment in time when these legendary figures weren't being hunted or hunted themselves, just enjoying a quiet day under the New Mexico sun, possibly playing croquet with laughter and light conversation. From the dusty back shelf of a forgotten shop to a potential multi-million-dollar treasure, this photograph reminds us how much of history still lies hidden in plain sight. It challenges the myths we've come to accept and adds new layers to one of the most iconic figures of the American West. Most of all, it brings Billy the Kid and the people who rode with him back to life in a way words never could.